All right, welcome everyone to Laravel Austin Meetup. I'm Terry, one of the founders and co-organizers. This is Hunter, he's the real organizer. Meet first Thursday of every month and to talk about stuff with Laravel and PHP and everything related to that. Next Thursday, if you want to just do some regular PHP stuff, the PHP meetup is happening. That happens second Thursday of every month, so it's usually the week right after Laravel meetup. Usually always a pretty good talks and stuff there. Our next meetup is on the 5th. And if anybody has any talk ideas or wants to give any talks, we're a friendly bunch here, so
Talk to me.
yeah, talk to Hunter. We're looking for, if you want to talk about anything. I mean, it's really whatever's on your mind. Next PHP meetup is the week after that on the 12th of November. And then if you're interested in going to a conference, PHP World is happening on the 16th to the 20th in DC. And there's actually quite a few Laravel talks going on there, including Taylor is giving a talk about lessons learned from creating Laravel. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. I think Code Rabbi is, he's got a couple of talks. Yeah, I think the bottom two are his. So if you're interested, tickets are still available in DC.
The catch is if anybody's going to API Stride, it's the exact same days. So, unfortunately, bummer.
Yeah, and also we've gotten a couple of job emails of people looking for Laravel specific developers. So if anybody knows anybody that's looking for a Laravel job or whatever, or looking for somebody to work on a Laravel project, let me or Hunter know, and we'll send it out to the rest of the group.
It's called DUnit. You may or may not have heard of it. It lets you test your PHP code against multiple versions of PHP. It uses Docker, and it will run your unit tests. So for us, we run against like 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, PHP 7, HHVM, and PHP 7 nightly. And it's literally like composer required, and you put DUnit, and that's it. They'll run all your tests in Docker images against whatever PHP versions you want. So check it out.
Sweet.
D unit?
Yeah, it's literally like the letter D in unit.
Okay. All right, and so tonight we'll be talking about the Laravel. I don't know. Do you have a name for
the request lifecycle? It's mostly about the foundation application class. I'm actually bookmarking this DUnit business real fast.
Started. It's almost near 250 stars. Man.
Yay. We'll blast it out.
I mean, there's a couple of people who use it, like Phil Sturgeon was using it when I met him at Lone Star and whatnot, so it solves a really nice problem. There's no reason to not know if your code's going to work with PHP 7 or HHVM. Like, there's no disadvantage to knowing.
Yeah.
It doesn't break anything knowing, so.
Exactly. That's awesome. Excuse me.
All right. Well, the request lifecycle wouldn't be complete without an Xdebug.
On the switcher up there,
This.
yeah, you should be able to switch it to.
just actually AirPlay? Should work.
This.
Yeah, it's already plugged in. So.
I got two. It looks like two right there. That cord is plugged in at 2. Okay.
If not, if you're on the Wi-Fi network, then AirPlay should work.
AirPlay. It's gonna break. Display disconnected. What room is this called?
Classroom.
Maybe why? No? Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Sweet. All right. So I'm actually going to restart this Xdebug so you can see how I got there. All right. So all I'm going to do is start you off on the request lifecycle. It actually starts off on the Bootstrap Autoload class, which is just a wrapper around the composer. Oh, great. All right, there we go. It's a Laravel's wrapper around the autoloader. It's just to start off with the autoloader. Actually, PHP 5 has this really cool compiler for optimized autoloading. I'm not going to waste any of our time right now optimizing an autoload, but so I'm going to skip past that. Hopefully all of us know autoloaders and go straight into the Bootstrap app.php, which is where we're going to spend probably all of our time. There's so much stuff in here. So I'm going to jump into there, jump into the Illuminate Foundation application, and this is where all the sweet stuff happens. So I'm going to skip past this. I want to go to the register bindings, and this is where the app.php facade happens. It wraps in a container. Actually, let's stay here. I'm going to go into there. This is where it builds your instance of app, which is where all the stuff that for service providers, service containers, and pretty much everything Laravel does is built upon this app instance, which is an instance of the foundation application. And I'm going to show you a bunch of cool stuff with that. This is like the vein of Laravel. This is where all the base stuff happens. I'm going to skip through this because it just builds a container, which is what's going to wrap around anything that you... They don't call it the IOC container in Laravel 5. It's the service container now. So all the service container stuff gets contained in this container. Sounds like something that we've done. So this base one is actually pretty cool. This base service provider, it's going to load main to service providers. It's going to load your event service provider, which is the queue, which you have for all your queuing of jobs, of like cron jobs, or if you use the facade queue, it queues up the application to build a queue instance. And then it also builds up the routes. So I'm gonna jump in here and show you. So it builds up the event and routing service provider. So this is just the base of the application to start off with. And then the other thing it's gonna do is it's gonna start up and move into your let's just move into it. When you stand up here, you forget names of stuff really easily. I've been looking at this crap all day too. Let's jump out of here. Yeah. So this is your abstract class service provider, which is the wrapper for all your other service providers. And this gets called right at the routing service provider. It's going to grab all the service providers you created and put them in a service provider stack. That's what I'm going to show you here. Actually built a route so that I can so we don't have to be in Xdebug all day, because I'm sure that's gorgeous. Actually, it shows how blind I am. Jeez, it's huge. All right. So I'm going to exit out of here. And in the routes, I just dumped out a bunch of app. a bunch of app variables. So we get to look at this. So you're gonna have the ability from the foundation application to see your namespace. You can see what version of Laravel you're on. You can see what environment you're at. You can see the base path of your application. You get to see all the service providers you already have loaded. So these are all the service providers that the application didn't already load. So we have these are the ones that it currently has loaded. So this is the event one that loaded first, the routing one, then you have the authorization service provider, so on and so forth. And so what I did right here is I actually jump back to the code. So I loaded the configuration by using this app make. So I'm calling this app is the instance of the Illuminate Foundation application. So I'm doing is calling that and I'm getting the config. So this is pretty much the same thing you would do as if you use the facade config. You grab the config. I'm just, in this instance, I'm grabbing all of the arrays for all the configurations for Laravel. So when you look in here, you get to see, I like to use this because I forget how I name configuration, or how configuration names need to be whenever I call them. So I just jump in here and use this. And if I want to get the app configuration, it'll give me all this stuff, and I can use the dot notation to grab all the other things. Anyways, so it also has an array of containers of applications. So you have the configuration stored in an array as well. So you just grab that by doing this app and then the array call to config. And then I just dump dive the entire application. So this is the entire instance of the Illuminate Foundation application. So in here you get to see all the stuff that's the loaded providers, and you also have deferred providers which load as you need them. So this instance I didn't use artisan, so none of the artisan providers got called. So anyways, this is all the deferred service providers are sort of there sitting and waiting for when you actually need to use them. It will reference them and call, add them to your application stack. Let's see, you have your instances. These are all the, so your config instance, that's what I called earlier. Your aliases to application, so this is what I'm using it for now. Actually, on config, it was used as a container, or it was probably used as an instance to, yeah. Yeah, the instance to the config. No, it was used off the alias. No, it's right here. There we go. Let's see. What else? I'm not going to resolve callbacks or anything like that. So this shows you all, oh yeah, the booted and has been bootstrapped. This is just part of the boot process that gets changed. Yeah, I think probably the only things that you would ever use from here is your namespace, your environment, pretty much all the things that I've listed here. The namespace, the version, the environment, your base path. Probably would get list of service providers. I'm not application for that, I don't know at the moment. Anyways, so you can see this class is the vein of the entire Laravel application. So what I'm going to do is actually move on to service providers and how you can register you can boot directories to load them into your application. Sort of like if you decide to have all your routes separated out, on boot, you can load certain, or you can use a service provider to grab a new route file. So That's what I've put together here. And it's a, if anyone's familiar with it's just another instance of IOC. It's IOC container magic. So whenever I do this, it's actually going to fail because I did not instantiate my service provider that has this binding for this class that I made called foo, which requires an instance of bar and baz. So I'm going to call this, and it's actually going to fail on me because it doesn't have, didn't. Because I use app make and it already initiates dependencies. All right. What I did do, hopefully I didn't add it. Pretty sure I probably did. I probably did, but I didn't dump autoload. Yeah. So AppMake already out of the box will it'll dependency inject for you, so you don't have to do where is it? Oh yeah, so we do this app make, and I'll show you the class. Foo is requires bar and baz dependencies. So app make is already adding those for you. And I was hoping that I could show you what the IOC container. Usually I don't use this in this way. I usually use them for like configuration. So if you did have something like if you're using memcache, I need to add the configuration for memcache. And Laravel uses memcached, so we have an instance where we need memcache from the whole application. You can use the IOC container or the service container to call, anytime you call your whatever class that you're using to instantiate memcache, you can add as a dependency an array for your connection. So your connection configuration can be added. That's where I would use the IOC container. The next thing I did actually was I added in here was an admin routes area, and in there I just added a route that says help. It's /help, and we're not gonna be able to find it there because it's not in the HTTP routes that were, yeah, so that's huge. So it's not able to find it because it's not in the regular routes directory. So what I did actually is I created a service provider that hacks the, at boot, I tell it to load routes from the HTTP admin routes, and then require that routes.php file. So this service provider is going to be added to the app.php. I just commented out, so I'll just uncommented, save it, and there we go. It just says help. So now that route works, and then it actually adds both the routes together. So my old route, which is / also works. So now I can create a module system where I extract out all my classes based upon use cases. You can have all the common stuff grouped together, so on and so forth. And you can have each individual one have its own routes file or controllers in test directory and everything like that, and use the service provider to register it all. Now, just open the service provider again. Service provider is going to have two parts. We made this mistake just recently that on the boot portion, the boot portion is kind of like all this. So you've already gone through all the auto loading, and there's some things that you want to add that wasn't in the autoloader. So you want to add them before you actually initiate the application. So you have the boot, and so we actually had this portion in our register, and what it did was you had all the applications loaded, and then at run it added the ability, or after all the application was built, it added the routes to it. We ended up not being able to use things because it didn't load until the end of the application. So it actually says in the documentation to make sure that if you do, if you have a custom routes or do any kind of bindings, that they should be in the boot and not in the register. And so this is the service container for the app, the foo class that I created. And it's not really necessary because it automatically does it for you for the service container if you just do app make. Now if I did trying to think of where else. Now I can go through a couple commands on how to create a service provider, and we can just load up another route from someplace else. I didn't use the, yeah, that's what I'll do. Let's build another route. And I actually, it's yeah, that's work. All right. So, on this, I'm gonna give it a namespace of app providers, and it uses Illuminate. This is the abstract class. Illuminate support service provider. So then classes. Sweet service provider. All right, and you have your boot. Alright, so I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a new route. Just make a, let's create a modules directory. And name this module column. And then inside the column, I'm going to have our routes.php. I won't do anything fancy here. We'll just return a string that says I'm on campus. Alright. Dump autoload it, and this won't be available to us because we haven't added that directory to the service provider. It won't be available to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this route to the service provider and then add the service provider to our list of available providers. Alright, and I'm gonna actually steal code from the test. Alright. Alright, this is actually still what it is. Modules common. Alright,
Little typo in modules.
that's why I was like, why won't it read it? Like it wouldn't autocomplete because I don't know how to spell. Alright, so the last thing I have to do is go to our configuration app.php, find our routers. Yeah, that's right. There's another supervisor. Yep. So there we go. So then it loaded our routes. So pretty much can load anything we want. We can now add, our classes and here, if we wanted to add our test suite in there, just add the directory for the test suite in our common module. Just do your tests here. And then you actually have to also add it to your piece. So don't worry about that. Test is actually special. You have a source directory where you put your controllers and
So that will require you to have to rename space names?
so actually the namespace is gonna load off of your autoloader. So this is after the autoloader. You notice that when I created the service provider, I didn't have to go recreate a new my autoloader didn't have to run again. The dump autoload, I have to run dump autoload because the service provider it adds it after the autoloader, so you can create service providers with new routes and it makes so much faster. On 4 we have to continuously dump autoload anytime we add new routes, or on routes you're gonna have to dump autoload. Oh wait, no you don't. No, you won't have to because I just did it and I didn't have to.
Just for classes.
Yeah.
As long as you're following PSR4 loading, then you'll be fine, or just the autoload array in your composer.json.
But what did that file structure break PSR4 autoloading?
Well, your PSR4 is fine, because for PSR4, the namespace, you could make it app modules, common, controllers, whatever controller.
Right.
If you were following PSR0, it'd have to be app modules, common, source controllers.
Has to follow the
whatever
directory
controller.
structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with PSR4, you can set a root directory to somewhere down the chain namespace wise and save a few directory structure levels.
Which is actually what L5 is doing, like in the composer.json, it already has the app namespace set to the app folder.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, I think that's about all of it, man. Unless anyone has any questions or something I can go over again. I know there was a lot of information over a short period of time. Oh, so this is most of the requests. The only thing that happens after this is that it gets your response and it spits it out however you would designate through your request object. And I could go. I mean, there's a lot of things in the application foundation class, but I have short amount of time. And I'm sure this has already been a bunch of information for anyone that hasn't done any service providers or anything like that, and easily overwhelm you with. But the cool thing is that if you ever wanted to find out at the very beginning of your application what environment you're in and only allow routes based upon environment, you can do that with the app. With your if you just do this app in the route, you can find out what environment you're in and don't create a route. So if you have codeception tests that you only want to test in your testing environment, you can find out what environment you're in. If you're in testing, then run the codeception test. And if you're not, then don't create the route. So I've been working on a module system to create service providers for modules that you create, so that you can dynamically create service providers without having to add it to the providers list. Because creating an artisan route, that was a turd. Luckily, a lot easier now with Laravel 5. And I haven't actually used Laravel 5 a whole bunch. It's Laravel 4. And the booting of the two totally different for both software, for both versions. Totally different. Still the same premise, but it's actually, the providers is an array of namespaces for all your providers in Laravel 4. And here it's an instance of the class for each. So yeah, that shows you just how different it is. If you loaded this in 4, it would break it. Anyways, you don't have any questions?
So besides like registering routes, what other sort of things would you do inside of a service provider?
That's everything. You register your routes in there.
Yeah.
Any facade that you use is in the actually everything that you use in Laravel is in this application. That's why I said it's like the vein of Laravel. Everything gets loaded in this. So it has the foundation application has a container application that loads all your what you would use for facades. So it just calls instances of classes that are in this this foundation application, or the foundation class. Yeah, so you can actually just call this and load everything into it yourself. I wouldn't suggest it. It would be a nightmare. It would be a mess of code. Actually do it and just don't make me read your code.
So if I wanted to ship my own package for Laravel, would I just create a service provider and sort of register the facades there?
Yep. So that's what all Laravel 5 applications are doing, is including, they're telling you to include the service provider in your providers array. So yeah.
Okay.
So I was actually trying to find a Laravel 5 application that didn't have a service provider so that I could give an example of, creating a service provider for a class, but every Laravel 5 application on GitHub that I saw had a service provider. Yeah. And I didn't want to do like UUIDs or something like that because it was just instances of classes and it was breaking crap. It was fun. Anyone else have a question? All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that is our only talk for the evening, but we've still got time. So we usually like to open this part of the meetup to just a general discussion. If you've been working on something in Laravel and you're just stuck and you can't figure it out, feel free to poke the collective brain power that is in this classroom, and hopefully we can help you figure it out, unless you just found that one really challenging problem that even the IBM Watson supercomputer couldn't figure out, in which case, sorry, but yeah, after that, if no one wants to hang around and chat or no one's got any questions, then that's all we've got for the meetup. So has anybody got anything they're poking on? Dang.
I guess I'm curious because we talked last time about not cashier, what's the new thing called?
Spark.
Spark, and at that point there wasn't an alpha. So curious if anybody has played with it. Any initial impressions, concerns?
I've been watching the project and got the flood of emails, and it's really cool to see like the evolution and like how kind Taylor is with accepting pull requests and
What? He's accepting
like
pull requests?
Oh, yeah.
Was it sarcastic or not?
yeah, just a little. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting to see what those two are doing, him and Graham, with like these different flavors of Laravel. I mean, you have this really awesome like service container and this really awesome application, but then you have like this other package that's like Lumen, right? That I mean, I find myself starting with the Lumen application and then being like, shit, it just needs to be a Laravel application because I need, like I really like the commands that it offers, like to create classes.
Yeah, so I just want to say, me personally, I fell into that trap 100 times.
Yeah.
I would build something on Slim and I'd be like, oh, I gotta pull in a database, I gotta pull in this, I gotta pull in that. I'm like, why didn't I just do a full stack framework in the beginning?
Right.
So.
But with Spark, it's my initial impressions is that it's going to be pretty powerful. I think a lot of the times, at least for like not like a personal website or something like that, but for like really building a SaaS application, it gives you a good place to start off. When's the first release supposed to be? Do you know?
I know he hasn't shared it with me. The most he shared was the access to the Laravel organization, so I could show it off before the alpha,
Okay.
which is nice because he hadn't removed it yet. So if he starts any new secret projects, I'll know about it before everybody else. But
Right.
Talk to him, you'll remind him that you're on the organization.
no, actually, what's great is that ever since then, he actually responds to me on the Lara chat Slack now on private messages, which is cool, I guess. But I haven't heard anything about a release date. The only thing that I did kind of poke his mind about, which was asked at the last meetup, was if there was any intentions of expanding from Stripe integration, since it's very tight into Stripe, and at the moment has been thought of. It's pretty much Stripe or bust.
He's gonna go rewrite OmniPay.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised he didn't just go with OmniPay originally, because
He's gonna rewrite it.
it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Aren't some of the limitations with Stripe like the countries and the currencies that you can work with,
They got it better.
and the pricing, right?
That I can't speak. Like, I know Stripe has a bit of a higher percentage of like what they take out of the transactions. That
It's
Right.
PayPal with better APIs is what it is.
yeah, it's basically PayPal with better APIs, but the cost of the better APIs and something you don't want to kill yourself working with is that they take a little bit more out of the transactions than PayPal normally would.
It's
Although-
2.7 versus 2.3.
It's 2.9 versus 2.9 because PayPal increased their rates to 2.9 across the board. But if you throw enough money in either company's direction, they'll renegotiate rates. Trust me on this one.
Yeah. PayPal is also a $30 a month fee.
Yeah.
So it's 2.9% with a $30 a month fee for their extra APIs. Yeah, their marketplace.
Braintree.
Yeah. What? Anything else.
They're
I'd use an
owned
XML
by
gateway.
I go back to soap before I touch.
No. PayPal's basically there.
Yeah, true. Somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, and if you're actually here, then sorry. But there was this service that basically, instead of pigeonholing into Stripe or pigeonholing into PayPal or using OmniPay to be able to switch these providers, there was just a service that you hooked into your PayPal and your Stripe and your whatever accounts to do online payments. And they had their own API that you would talk to their API and then they would handle the transaction. So you could have like Stripe and PayPal pre-configured, and if you hit one day you're like, you know what, PayPal's shafting me on fees, you just turn them off and then everything goes through Stripe versus PayPal, which sounds awesome. I wish I could remember the name. If I can ever remember it, I'll talk about it at the next meetup in November or send out an email about it. But They had mentioned that, but at the moment, Taylor seems pretty set on Stripe, which is understandable since Stripe's API and PHP SDKs are actually good versus the others, which are not. So, but no word on the official release. I haven't even heard anything but a beta yet. So, all I know is that he's working on it still.
I also think that Stripe doesn't care what website you use or what service you sell, because even PayPal is selective on what kind of service you sell.
Yeah, Stripe is basically like their tagline. I don't know if they changed it, but their tagline was by developers for developers, because I think Stripe was basically a bunch of developers that got fed up with dealing with the PayPal APIs and said, let's make this better, and then made Stripe, and then made a lot of money themselves, and they're happy and developers are happy.
I wonder if it's just a wrapper around authorized.net.
That would be hilarious.
So now Visa is like a huge investor in Stripe.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to throw something else up there. Do any of you guys use Socialite with your Laravel and stuff?
Actually, I was just I tied it into the Spark thing that I was playing with, and it was super.
Yeah, it's super simple, and I think it's kind of underutilized. I don't think people talk about it too much, but I think part of the reason for that is that it's not intuitive at all how to write a new integration. But I just found this thing the other day that somebody put together a whole system for organizing new social integrations, and they even wrote a generator so you can just really quickly generate your own. So I wrote up and from meetings to end did a Venmo one in like 2 hours, and most of that was like searching for like how to like write one and then finding this thing. So recommend that. I think I posted about it in the Laravel subreddit. There for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I was looking at it recently myself, just because like I've been building our new Off 2 server at Perk, and we're looking at upgrading some sites from Codeignitor to Laravel to not want to hate ourselves every time we work on the code. And Socialite makes a lot of sense with OAuth, but just the actual Laravel documentation doesn't explain how to write a new one at all.
Right.
Because it's basically built just to support like GitHub, Google, Facebook, maybe Twitter.
I think.
Yeah, and that's it. But there's another, which I think you found the same one. Is there's a like Socialite organization.
Socialite providers.
Socialite provider, yeah, that someone made that has tons of them, like LinkedIn, Uber, just all the social
like
providers.
a template package for that too, so you can just go make your own adapter.
Pretty much. And all you do is you remove the like Illuminate service provider for Socialite and load their provider that they provide. That's a lot of provides and providers in the same sentence. And what they do is they register the base Laravel Illuminate Socialite provider, and then also load in the stuff for your specific service. So if you need to authenticate based on Uber, I'm sure sooner or later we'll see login with Uber accounts somewhere with how they're growing, but you could do that. Or if you needed to just get access to someone's Uber account. So
They have it.
yeah, they've got Uber, they've got LinkedIn, they've got a ton of them. I think they actually do. Blake made the like joke reference of some like obscure Russian social network, and I think they actually do have a obscure social like Russian social network as a provider. They
Vcontact is that obscure.
so we actually have been thinking about trying to do a talk for the Socialite. So if you want to do it, Daniel, talk to me.
Is anybody here doing a continuous integration with Laravel that's not Jenkins?
It's like with Travis.
Travis works.
Or you're asking for a circle.
Yeah, Circle.
No, I'm just curious what people are using. I mean,
Yeah,
because Jenkins is just wants to make me kill myself. But
Jenkins is not fun to set up.
I'm using a self-hosted TeamCity.
oh, okay, cool. All right.
Who are you doing City by? Is that
JetBrains.
JetBrains? Yeah.
The interface is terrible.
It's way better than Jenkins. Like I only want to kill myself a little.
Only a little.
Are you doing tests or I'm probably unit testing, right?
Yeah, unit testing with Laravel 5's like integration testing.
All right. So you're just using the I know the tests rig is a lot more advanced in L5. Are you using that?
Yeah.
It's like a functional stuff.
Like I'm able to crunch, like just throw out tests so quickly.
Yeah.
Visit this page, type this in this form field, hit this submit button, see this in the database. I know that page works now. And like, just by saying visit, you get like 4 assertions or something, because it's like, is it a 200? Is it, you know,
Content comes back.
right, like some content comes back, yeah.
Is it, it's not like Selenium, like full browser DOM though, is it?
No, but it's so fast because it's not that.
Yeah, it's all like
It's-
functional.
It's using like the internal routing of the Laravel
Like
application
DOM crawler.
and like rendering the whole view and then using Symfony's DOM crawler
Yeah.
against the rendered view instead of, but it's still, I still have it hit my database and I run, I think it's like over 200 tests in less than a minute.
Very cool. Not bad.
Like full tests, there's like almost
doing all
800
that time, man.
assertions.
You gain so much time back.
So now when
To
you
watch
change
the
a
code
single
run.
character, everything breaks.
Exactly. It's awesome.
So we're not alone.
Yeah.
So do you use Travis for like like open source, or do you
No,
use
I was just asking.
Oh,
Just
okay.
throwing it out
Okay.
there for like, if anybody else had a,
Travis is
Yeah.
very expensive if you want to use private repos.
Yeah.
It's like it's very expensive.
Love Travis for open source. It's great because you just say a YAML file, and kind of like with DUnit for Travis, you just have a YAML file that says, "Hey, I want PHP 5.3, 5.4."
We looked at it.
Yeah.
I typed in DUnit on Google and I got like this stupid SourceWords project.
you gotta do dunit space PHP.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
I'm sorry, we haven't taken over the keyword yet.
So the D programming language has a unit test suite called DUnit.
Yeah.
Just do G.
Yellow,
man.
don't
I
care.
thought it said it was for Delphi.
That's what it said.
It is for Delta.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's
really?
not,
It's
it's
for
a
Delphi?
PHP thing.
I mean, it's really supposed to be like the whole like PHP unit, but like Docker unit kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But like that's what we were playing on when we wrote it. So,
Dude, I can find you. I just Googled GitHub DUnit and there's 2 repositories.
okay, there.
Don't worry, this is not the SEO meetup. So.
If somebody else wants a scrutinizer is a really good CI service as well for open
Yes, it
source
is.
projects.
Yeah, we're
It's
using.
like Code Climate plus Travis CI at one thing.
But you can use Travis CI and Scrutinizer.
Yeah, we use both.
Oh, you both.
Because there's certain things that Scrutinizer, what is it, the code coverage that Travis CI won't do.
Exactly.
So did you do the obligatory Hacker post for DUnit?
The Medium post?
Or like Hacker News?
Yeah, there was a post on there. Yeah, that was me.
Nice.
There's also another one of like how to get your GitHub repository noticed. It's like so there's like me and another fellow. His name is Daniel Bruce. He does like usually all the coding, and I just become the marketer for all his projects. Because he's like hardcore guy. He's like, I don't want to deal with talking to people. I don't want to market this. I just write good code. But yeah, I don't know. That's a big thing I noticed in open source. Is like you have a lot of good open source projects, but then people just put it out there and think it's just going to become popular. And it's like, no, you actually have to market. Like you have to think like a marketer. Like it's terrible to say. I know none of us want to be marketers. We want to just sit here and write code.
And the fact that it's free, people think it's shit automatically.
Yeah,
Well, the longer that I've been working as a programmer, it really hasn't been that long. But it's like once you're on a team basis and you get higher up in the ranks, not like necessarily manager, but like senior or anything past junior, then it's meetings and design and architecture and serve architecture, business requirements. It's not just programming. But like I definitely understand that for open source projects.
Yeah, there's a whole like, there's a lot of like behind the scenes like stuff. Like it's really weird to say, but it's like there's a lot of like drama behind that stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have a parallax website, then you're not gonna sell.
Well,
If you have an awesome parallax scrolling thingy,
it's like I don't know. It's really weird to explain. It's like now if we do an open source project, like it's like immediately I can hit up like 3 other people in the community, and it's going to be like there's a Russian like blog that goes out and it's huge. in like the whole European settings, and instantly that's like 100 GitHub stars, or like whatever metric you want to measure, composer installs or whatever. Because no one, like, personally, I don't want to write something and no one use it, right? Like, who wants to write something, put it out there, and like.
So, is D-Unit a service, or do I have to go pull it down and run it in?
Just composer require it.
Oh.
So yeah, you just composer require it. Originally it was like, if you look back at the original commit, the first commit I think was me, it's like just a bash script that we were using internally that got the job done, and then we expanded it out to an actual Symfony console project and all that. But yeah, composer require it, and you just treat it exactly like PHP unit. So D unit, and then whatever your config says, and it will run spin up containers for all your code on whatever versions you want, and you can do like PHP syntax checking or your unit tests. So every container, it will be like, is it syntax compliant, right? Because like in PHP 7, there are changes that are not backwards compatible, right? So
if I have custom build steps in my build process,
you can build your own image too. The instructions will, the README should cover how to build your own image, and then you just tell the config to point to your Docker image versus ours. Like they come with pretty good standard ones, like. There's like the mcrypt and like a bunch of like the standard PHP extensions most projects have anyways. But if you had something like really out there, or you wrote your own PHP extension for whatever reason, yeah, you could build your own.
Crazy enough.
Well, like you could build your own image and just include that. But if you just want to see what your current code is against like HHVM or PHP 7 or PHP 7 nightly, that's a really nice thing.
I'm gonna play with that tonight.
Yeah. Like I highly recommend looking at it. Like I always tell, I wrote a whole Medium post about it of like, it's always nice to be able, like tomorrow, to walk into your company and say, listen, 80% of the tests 80% of our tests work in HHVM right now.
Yeah.
Like 20% don't work. Because if tomorrow, like they're like, we were going to spend 20 grand on new servers for like the performance stuff, because like this was like 2 years ago when we wrote this, and we were going to spend like a ton of money on new servers, or it was like, could move to HHVM, but then it was like, how much would have to be rewritten, and we actually already knew it's like, well, all our tests passed, so the amount of time we have to spend is like near zero. But I come from like a really different field.
So that applies to me, right? So like we want to go to PHP 7, but you're basically flying blind.
So
like,
yeah.
Okay, I'll just throw in some servers and watch everything.
You can preemptively test with DUnit. You can find out if your code's going to work right now for release candidates. Or you could even go as far as nightly. So every night you could retest against nightly. And then if your code ever breaks, you can actually hit the core devs and like, hey, this used to work. Like it's worked for the last week. Now it doesn't work. You actually broke something. So,
very cool.
And if they argue, you can literally be like, no, I know it works because of DUnit.
Hashtag D.
Very cool. That's awesome.
So, actually, coming in earlier, has anyone built something in Lumen and then actually been like, yep, that's fine, and just left it in Lumen? Or has everyone been in the, I'm going to start in Lumen, and then like an hour later be like, screw this, and just upgrade it to a full Laravel app? Or is that just me that's actually built something in Lumen?
I built a couple of things in Lumen, like at least some of the people on my team over at Kimbia, where it's just, so with Kimbia we have a Java application that provides like donation forms and metrics and stuff for people to give to nonprofits. And then on our team, we implement that into various products. So sometimes the communication between like the platform database and what we have on our local database may need to be, updated, what have you. And so we've written a couple APIs that are Lumen-centric to act as a service for in between an application and the actual platform. But in other times, it's just like, I start to work on a project and then I think that it's Lumen and then no, it doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, I would probably, as dumb as it sounds, I would probably start on Laravel and then build it and then go, oh, okay, it's only doing this. I'll actually just bring it over to Lumen.
Build it with yank out of service providers. You thought that you could
Right.
In providers, it has a list of all the actual core service providers for Laravel. So I'd build it out in Laravel, just yank out stuff and see if it broke something, if it didn't.
I mean, is that like
Then you don't need them.
is it like the upgrade process or the downgrade process, right? It's just like Lumen's like a very stripped down Laravel.
Yeah, Lumen's got the same structure as 5, so you can just do, like, set up a new Lumen application. If you need more, you can just take the code and copy it like, directly into a new L5 app, and it just works immediately.
Oh, cool.
So it probably all of it has the base, which is in the bootstrap, in the loading, it has the 2 search spiders that you need, the routing search spider and the event search spider, and then everything else just gets loaded after that.
Yep, this is a different router.
Yeah, Lumen uses a different router, so that's the only thing that won't be like exactly one to one. Like if you specify a route that's using a wildcard like users/ID/whatever, you can still copy that same like route pattern into the like Laravel base router, and it'll work just fine. Just small details with it are different.
There's also a limited number of facades that are available in Lumen. Like I noticed that, like there's like artisans not available in Lumen.
Yeah, Artisan, there's no generators in Lumen, so you have to actually manually make controllers and eloquent models and Artisan commands, which I know it's horrible. How dare we have to make classes ourselves in 2015. But by default, facades and eloquent are disabled in Lumen. But they're easy to enable. You just remove a comment in a single file and boom, they're back. So there's some fine details. I've had to do some monkey patching to get stuff that's not normally loaded in a certain manner in Lumen to load in correctly for the one thing that we built, but it's not that bad.
So, adding a lot more secondhand experience to the to this, there are a couple internal-ish tools that we're building in Lumen, and since they're very kind of API-ish, now it's Lumen plus Eloquent is more or less what's going on there, but it seems like there's not been much of an issue on the really using Lumen side of things, rather than, oh crap, well, we're pulling in so many things that we might have just use the full stack framework. Now there may be a bias actually against internally using full stack Laravel, mainly because there were some N+1 problems in existing L4 code. So
Yeah, try to use all the packages for L4 separate. It's fun. There's no documentation. I added it to my, I used the database stuff for seeders in, what is it?
Finks.
Finks, yeah. There was no documentation for it. That was a week-long
I
project.
actually ran into somebody in IRC who had linked me to a GitHub repo that has examples on how to use like all these different packages by themselves.
That would be Matt Stauffer's pet project.
And it still was not very fun. So
On a side note, I think this guy's running the unit. I should mention the first time you run it, it's going to take a while because it has to download the Docker images. They are very small. They're like 15 megs each Docker image that you want. But I figured if anyone was good using, they're like, what the fuck? It takes forever. Only the first time. Only the first
Have you
time.
heard about the Docker file? Like, you can do off Docker files.
Yeah, they're all doing.
So if I swapped out the Docker files,
You can do custom images if you want.
okay, so it'll just build the images off the Docker files and create.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It doesn't take a
sounds
second
like
the
a
first
hardcore
time.
Yeah, the first time it doesn't take a second. The first time it has to download.
unless you're on Google Fiber, in which
Yeah,
case,
oh, yeah.
If you're
on Fiverr, it doesn't matter.
5, 3, and 7 would be super easy.
Yeah, I thought you were running it. I was like, that's gonna take a while. But only the first time, or the nightly ones. That's the other ones.
guess that's a good one.
Yeah, the other here.
Yeah, we can.
For what?
Oh, yes.
Seems like we're wrapping up, so thanks for coming out again. If you want to give a talk, would like to hear a topic, are looking for a job working in Laravel, or have jobs for Laravel developers, just talk to myself or Terry through the Meetup site or on Twitter, and we'll be able to hook you up with a job, find other people to work your job. We would love to have other people talk because, well, I'm sure y'all would like to hear someone else besides Terry and I. He's after.
Not
Yeah,
even
so, yeah, exactly.